everybody.
Thank you, Genesis. And if I can have my panelists join us right now, turn on your cameras, please. We have a great, thanks, Reg. We have a great panel here tonight. Perspectives of affinity bar associations. We have panelists from 5 affinity bars. This is kind of really cool that we have 5 affinity bars here tonight. We have Ramz Aziz from Muslim Bar Association of New York. Okay, Samiya Mir from the South Asian Bar Association of New York. Vivian Rivera Drohan of the Women's Bar Association of New York. Reginald Greene of the Metropolitan Black Bar Association, and Janelle Romero of the Dominican Bar Association. Thank you guys for being here tonight. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Okay, so we're going to start off. I just want to ask each of them to tell us a little bit about their background, and then tell us a little bit about your affinity bar. Tell us, what the history, the members, the locations, things like that. So, Ramiz, I'll start off with you. Can you?
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate
Yep.
it. Pleasure to be here tonight.
Yep.
Full disclosure, I'm actually not an arbitration professional. I'm in banking, but I'm here on behalf of the members of our bar association who are practicing in the arbitration ADR space. So a lot of the
Okay.
views I'll be sharing tonight are perspectives we've gathered from our members. So the Muslim Bar Association of New York is about 20 years old. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So it's an organization founded to meet. Thank you. Very excited about that as a milestone for our community. It was founded to basically service the needs of Muslim lawyers and professionals, anybody who identifies as Muslim in that sense. And so it's become a religious cultural association where there's a lot of contributions that the Bar Association has made over time. And when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to supporting other organizations, when it comes to religious rights, in terms of professional development, in terms of mentorship, and providing opportunities for pipelines to certain aspects of the profession, including arbitration. And so, yeah, so we're very excited to be part of this conversation. And I think many of our esteemed members have been part of this panel in other symposiums in the past.
So, are you affiliated with a national bar, or is it just the New York? Is it?
Yes, we are affiliated with the National Association of Muslim Lawyers, which is
Oh,
the
cool.
overarching, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Samiya, South Asian Bar Association of New York.
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you, Jeff. And so great to be here with all the panelists and really enjoyed the prior presentation. So I'm a member of the South Asian Bar Association. I'm also a member of the Muslim Bar Association, so I can speak to both
Oh,
of them.
two. All right.
Yeah. Um, but and I am an arbitrator with the AAA, with the no fault division of AAA.
How long have you
I'm
been with
also
us?
so I have been an arbitrator since 2017, I want to say. I think
Oh,
it's
great. Okay.
2017, 2018. Yeah. But I plan to apply for some of the other panels as well, which I haven't gotten around to because I haven't had time. But I am also an employment lawyer, and I just became a part-time administrative law judge with the New York State Division of Human Rights, where I do a lot of settlement conferences and mediation. So have a lot of experience in that area, and so and great to see the growing field of diverse arbitrators and mediators.
Absolutely.
So
Well, I'm the
happy to
person
be
to
here.
talk to if you want to see other panels. So please talk to me about that.
I
Definitely.
definitely will. I definitely will.
Vivian, Women's Bar Association of New York.
Yes, so I am an officer and board member of the New York chapter of the Women's Bar Association. We're the largest chapter of the state and the founding, actually, chapter of the state organization of the Women's Bar Association. So I'm actually a member of both. In addition, I am on the board of the Puerto Rican Bar Association, and our firm is also part of the National Association of Minority and Women Attorneys. And I only mention that because somebody earlier had mentioned about FINRA reaching out and stuff, and that was, I sort of, and one of the people probably took advantage of that. I am a relatively new arbitrator, only the last 3 years, both as a FINRA arbitrator, but also as a new approved arbitrator for the American Bar Association, American Arbitration Association, excuse me. I have probably over 20 years experience with alternative dispute resolution and arbitration, mostly as counsel, because I have been involved heavily in financial services, and alternative dispute resolution has been used for a long time in that particular field. So that is
Absolutely.
my experience.
Great, thanks. Reg, the Metropolitan Black Bar Association, in your background.
Thanks so much, Jeff, and glad to be here. The Metropolitan Black Bar Association was started in 1984, but it has roots all the way back into 1920s when the Harlem Black Lawyers Association was created. And over time, those all consolidated from the Bronx Black Lawyers Association, Harlem Lawyers Association, other associations in the city into the Metropolitan Black Bar Association, which is one of the largest city affinity associations in the country. We're affiliated with the National Bar Association, which is the 100-year-old first Black Lawyers Association, developed because the ABA would not allow Black folks to join the association. So wouldn't let them join the bar. So they created the National Bar Association 100 years ago.
So
and we're
you guys hit your anniversary. We hit our anniversary, the AAA, 1926. That's when we were, so 1926, same thing.
That's right.
Very cool.
It was 25. So
okay.
25.
You're 101 years old.
Now we're 100. The National Bar Association, Metropolitan Bar Association is Black Bar Association is an affiliate of it. I'm the VP of Finance, also a member of the National Bar Association, and I am a mediator. Not quite on any of the panels. I'm not on JAMS. I'm not on AAA, but I work with Jed Melnick, who is on the panel at JAMS, and I met him 10 years ago when I was coming out of Leela Love's mediation clinic at Cardozo. And prior to that, I was a superintendent and principal of several schools for about 10 years prior to coming to law school.
I love Leela Love. She just won an award, the Chuck Newman Award with the New York State Bar Association 2 weeks ago. She's terrific.
That's right.
You had her as a professor?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Awesome. Good. And Janelle, Dominican Bar Association.
Hi, my name is Janelle. Obviously, I'm a board member and director of the Dominican Bar Association for the last 3 years. We were founded in the 90s, and we are the only Dominican Bar Association in the nation. We are based in New York, and we do have members around the country. We also have foreign members in the Dominican Republic and foreign committees and do a lot of work there. Actually, last year, our theme was heavily based in mentorship. And so I really loved hearing the panels earlier about mentorship because that was a really big thing, even in general, that our bar association really promotes in our community because law is not a common path amongst Dominicans in general. And so it's something that we really try to bring in our community and bring into the courts and into the law firms and kind of show younger, I mean, not just Dominicans, we also have board members from different countries, and we do a lot of outreach with other affinity bar associations. And I'm an employment litigator. I am not an arbitrator or mediator, although I do participate in many, many arbitrations and mediations. And yeah.
So does your bar association have an official mentor program, a mentor-mentee program or not?
So yeah, we actually started one last year.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of the ADR institutions, FYI, for the group that's on this call today or this program, have mentor or mentee programs. So please, and obviously the ABA has been mentioned a lot today, and they have those programs, and so does the New York State Bar and things like that. So very important. I think that was a great thing out of that last discussion. So I have a couple of questions for you guys. We don't have a lot of time. The first question is, how has the current social and legal climate affected arbitration-focused programming, panel development, or partnership within your organization? And Vivian, I'll go to you first.
With respect to especially the Women's Bar Association, I don't know if we have been so affected by the current administration's, yes, there is somewhat of, an attack on perhaps female attorneys in general that we have felt. But when it comes to arbitration and to mediation, I think our bigger issue has not so much been, what is going on as opposed to trying to get into fields that perhaps women are not as recognized in. And perhaps that's where we have felt the most harm to begin with, because in the past there was some encouragement, for example, of a lot of women going into the commercial field, which is a field that I'm in. I'm in financial services. Women are not normally thought of in that particular field a lot of times, and so we were making a heck of a lot of progress in that direction, and there has been some, I think, some harm when it comes to pushing that further at this point.
Sure. Ramz?
Thanks, Jeff. It's interesting because from what we're hearing from our members, like the current climate, it hasn't reduced the interest around ADR arbitration, but I think what we're seeing is that it's changed how institutions talk about it. So how DEI is framed. So, so I think that it's much safer to focus on things like fair process, neutrality, legitimacy, access. But I think everybody wants the same thing in the sense that, broader pipelines into ADR, especially for up and coming lawyers, skills-based training, opportunities for mentorship and sponsorship, that our law firm is working, that our bar association is working to provide in conjunction with other law firms. So I guess more of our programming as a bar association is focused on like professional development, excellence, even when the underlying goal is still inclusion, so I guess, but there is an appetite we're seeing from our members for like community-led spaces for, practitioners that come together from all walks of life, all religions, all backgrounds. And so it's just that the legal climate, the social climate is very sensitive right now in the sense that what we're seeing, for example, I don't know, folks, I'm sure, folks have seen that in Texas, Governor Abbott, his war on Sharia, he attacked basically an Islamic tribunal. And part of the tribunal's job is to arbitrate, so for us, that's just another arbitration panel, just like any other, right? So again, it's there to service a particular community that would like, certain cultural sensitivity when it comes to dealing with matters like that's involving inheritance or divorce or what have you. And so there's nothing out of the box there, it's completely compliant with, Texas law. And, so it's, so for us, I think it was a bit of a red herring or like, it's a bit of a unfortunate, Islamophobic attack because, at its core, that tribunal was just servicing a community, just like any other, religious-based tribunal would. And so that's not comforting for our members to see, but, ultimately, it's not affecting the demand for it in terms of lawyers coming in, and it's not affecting the demand for services either. So that's still existing.
So that's good to hear. So you're still getting a lot of people that want to be members and things like that. Your membership's not dropping.
That's right.
Excellent.
There's still an interest in it.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Okay. Reg, what are your thoughts on current social and legal climate?
Just generally for ADR in the Metropolitan Black Bar Association, at least speaking to that, most of our members who are engaging or thinking about ADR are either people who are judges or about to retire from being judges and looking for, their next destination. Where I think we've tried to focus is how do we get younger folks who aren't that advanced in their career to think about alternative dispute resolution as a pathway for them. And in this climate where merely having the word Black in our name loses us funding, which is an amazing phenomenon. What a switch from 2020 to now, just the word Black in our name gives firms and corporations pause on giving us any money because of these EOs from the current administration. And so the pipeline problem is going to continue to be a problem for us, whether it's getting folks into ADR and thinking about alternative dispute resolution, building relationships with ADR professionals so that they understand it and they can use it as counsel and understand how to use the mediation process and how to be excellent in the arbitral process as counsel. It's going to become harder and harder. And the last thing I would say is the change in student loans and how that's impacting our group and impacting our young people who are joining our group in pre-law program. We were just at NYU for the pre-law symposium, and just the number of students who are deciding not to go into the law, Black students, because they can't afford it. And with the caps on folks, this is going to have a deleterious effect on us for long term.
Oh yeah, that definitely will. Janelle.
I think a lot of of what I would say that we've seen in the Dominican Bar Association kind of mirrors what we've just heard with the Black Bar Association. I think that, we had some similar concerns with our annual scholarship gala. A lot of our students rely on those scholarships that we give out, and we had funding concerns up to certain points because law firms were concerned about whether we did or did not have certain language that may be too closely related to DEI at a time where they could not be tied to that type of language. We've also, as a Latino Bar Association, we're expected to make statements on a lot of things that our people are currently going through. A lot of Latino judges that have been publicly attacked, and just the population in general. And so there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, wordsmithing how we can continue our mission in ways that we're not hurting the people that we're, working to help or taking away from them, but also not deviating from our mission and not trying to comply with an administration that doesn't necessarily maybe prioritize our group as much.
Yeah. Now you mentioned scholarships. I'm not sure if you're aware, and I'll tell the audience, the institutions, the AAA, ICDR, and JAMS, I think maybe even CPR, we do have scholarships, for a diversity scholarship still. I mean, we haven't changed them, and we're not going to change them. And if the audience, if you're interested, the AAA ICDR Foundation, just type in diversity scholarship. You can get up to $2,000 to attend any ADR program. And it's a one-page form, and I know JAMS, it's the same thing. It's a pretty simple process. And please, to the audience here tonight, take advantage of that. We're trying to. We have a lot of money, and so does JAMS, and we want to help people, diverse people, get into this field. Samiya. I'm usually last as Zaino, so sorry.
It's Samiya, but everybody.
Samiya, sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Everyone calls me Simi, so you can just call me Simi.
Okay,
but,
Simi.
So with regard to the question about how the climate has affected the programming, I would say just repeating what Janelle and Reginald and Ramz were saying. I think just specifically I've noticed and I'm not on the leadership of the South Asian Bar Association, but just having talked to some of the leaders, I know that just being a little bit more careful about the language that's used and being more deliberate and intentional about language around programming and inclusion, and anybody can be a member of the South Asian Bar Association. You don't have to be South Asian, and just making that clear, where that's always been the case, but making it clear that this is the case. And I think being a little more intentional with the language around, just the paperwork and the documents and the events that they're holding, because, these events have always been inclusive, but, just making it clear that they are inclusive. So I think that's definitely something I've noticed.
Sure. Now, earlier tonight, implicit bias was discussed a little bit. Even as some formal DEI initiatives are scaled back, how do issues of explicit or implicit bias continue to surface in arbitration settings that you know of? For example, in arbitrator selection, advocacy styles, credibility assessments. Do you see that? Reg, do you see that? Or do you hear about it?
Yes. I mean, at least in our membership, again, for those folks who are trying to make the transition to get into arbitration, particularly our judges who are retiring and moving on, even though they're judges, it's still a community where you need to have networks. And if those networks aren't, they don't look like you, or you don't have the same background as those folks, it's harder to break into those networks. And I've certainly heard that from our membership, including our esteemed Black judges who are saying, wait, how do I break into this? I really don't know how. I don't know what the pathway is. And now that could be for their part that they've been judges for a long time and they're not used to asking for help in that kind of way.
Yeah, sure.
But I do think there is even my journey to mediation was because of what you all were discussing earlier about mentorship. And through a program I was in, I was able to meet up with someone who did not look like me, right? Janelle does not look like me, but he is my mentor. He is someone that's my partner in helping me get there. So I think the more networking opportunities to cross-pollinate between groups, giving people those spaces, I think it can make an impact. But certainly where there's less than 2% of those people are African American or Black diaspora, I think it's just a pathway issue.
Sure. No, absolutely. Ramz, then the same question about
Yeah,
implicit bias.
so I guess there's a lot of frustration that we're hearing. So obviously biases are human nature. I guess there's this perception out there that, it's a very strong sentiment that, like AAA panels, even like, at the SDNY, like they just don't let anybody in, right? So they're gate kept, so obviously, there's serious qualifications, with regards to training and experience, before you get to be a panel member. And so, there's a lot of members that, are people of color, that feel that, there's like barriers to entry, and so, there's like a reliance on like known quantities. There's like obviously there's always this shift towards homogeneity. And obviously, like, we're not saying that, there's no effort for diversity. Of course, I think this entire night, that's what we've been hearing, that there is a sincere effort out there. It's just that, it hasn't created those pathways that people are looking for.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it is like your informal and formal networks that really are important in allowing some of those doors to open. So, we have highly qualified people that, are just, I guess, waiting for their opportunity or have felt a bit frustrated by the, I guess, resistance or the steep hill that they have to climb, I guess, in that sense.
No, it is challenging. It's challenging to get on a lot of the panels. I agree. It's not easy to get on the AAA's panel, GM's panel, those kind of CPRs. It's not easy. Vivian, your thoughts?
Oops, sorry, I had to unmute myself. It's a little funny. For the women's bar, I sort of take a different approach. As a board member of the Puerto Rican Bar Association, I am in total agreement with Reginald and Janelle and Ramz and I'm sorry if I pronounce the name wrong. Sammy, I'm going to say it.
Semi.
Because we suffer very different implicit bias as an affinity bar that is also cultural. The women's bar, I take a slightly different approach again because they have taken, and a lot of our members have taken advantage of the outreach from, for example, AAA for diversity and inclusion. Female attorneys are starting to outnumber male attorneys to a large extent, and I think females may be, or women attorneys may be willing to network a lot, at times a lot more between themselves, to encourage and to become mentors and to network and to increase the choice when you're counsel of female arbitrators, for example. And again, I always go that it's almost the field as opposed to whether or not you look at a list of arbitrators and you'll see 4 or 5 female arbitrators and you don't always think anything of it. Unless you're doing like a particular case, you'll find, if you're doing a matrimonial arbitration or you're doing some other personal injury arbitration, it's looked at, you don't think twice. You go into financial services or commercial or contract litigation, and then it becomes a little harder. So I think networking and really sort of being there as mentor mentee, that's becoming very, very important to the Women's Bar Association. And the outreach programs by AAA, JAMS, and FINRA are all very important. Like I said, I've taken advantage of all 3 of them.
No, I think the institutions are trying, and we've been trying for many years. And I think all of us signed the Ray Corollary, and I know David's a part of that. And we thought it was very important, and we were actually above 30%. I think we were 31% on our list that we were issuing. I know GM's, CPR too. So we're all part of that. So Simi, same question on explicit and implicit bias. What do you see?
I mean, I think
As
that
you're an arbitrator, yeah.
Yeah, so as an arbitrator, I happen to be on an arbitration panel where we just get assigned cases. So no,
Yep.
I don't have to be promoting myself to get cases, but I have heard from friends and other, friends who are in the arbitration field that it is sometimes difficult to get cases. And just because of, a lot of it is networking and connections. And, we've improved a lot, I think, but there's still often assumptions that maybe a person might not understand the subject matter or is not personally connected to somebody, in a corporate setting who, they may assume that they don't know anything about the business or the corporate, the corporate entities and these sort of like, I think the higher paying corporate cases, especially. So I have heard that from friends who are, who try to get, these sorts of cases. But so it's definitely there, but I do think things have been improving, and I do think with the mentorship programs that has been really helpful. Having co-mediations has been really helpful when an arbitrator who has been doing these sorts of cases for a while pulls in another arbitrator or mediator to do a case with them. So
Sure.
I think that's helpful too.
Absolutely. Genesis, do you have a CLE?
I do. The fifth CLE word is selection. The fifth CLE word is selection. Selection.
Great.
Thank you.
Janelle, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak too much as an arbitrator, but I can say I file employment discrimination suits, and as a cultural bar association, I think bias is something that's always kind of at the forefront of my professional career and trying to navigate. I practice federally around the country, and depending on the type of discrimination, we're always looking into the backgrounds and the potential biases of the arbitrators that we may be assigned to. As a bar association, it's kind of the opposite. We're working against biases and trying to neutralize those so that people don't see us as, I don't know, certain things that you just might assume because of certain biases with a cultural association, bar association.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, being more positive now, okay, what gives you optimism about the future of diversity and inclusion in the legal field, in arbitration? What positive feelings do you have about the future? Vivian, I'll turn to you first.
I think what's really positive and what I've really noticed are the young attorneys coming out of law school. They don't feel, I think, perhaps as limited as maybe in the past other attorneys, coming out of law school felt they had to go into certain fields or certain areas. The young attorneys coming out feel like they can go into any field, including ADR, including arbitration, and really make make an impact in those fields. And I think the more that we see that, the less fear of going into various fields, I think, is going to be a real positive, including into arbitration and ADR, because at some point they will be the ones choosing arbitrators, and they'll be looking at who is there as a choice, and their choices are going to be much more, it's just going to be so much more of a choice, whether it's cultural or female or anything else. The choices are going to be there, and they're going to be less, I think they're going to be less biased to who they choose.
Sure. Great point. Ramz?
I think there's like a couple of parallel trends there. For especially younger attorneys, again, they do feel like I think that the point that Samiya also mentioned about not knowing the right people. I think it's about those spaces where they can get involved, get integrated in the community, and so the number of practitioners that are part of Ubani is growing, but it's still not there at that critical mass where it's like every other person. You can easily pull up a list of 50 people who are on panels. That's not a reality yet.
Yeah.
So I think taking advantage of programs that the AAA has, into scholarships as you mentioned, more opportunities for networking, that mentorship, those kinds of things that we've heard. Hey, I paid for somebody to join me to be a, mediator, or just to hear that, to see mediation in action. Those would be really appreciated. I think those are hard to come by.
Yeah.
So
No, and we're really proud of the Higginbotham Fellows Program, which we do. It's been since 2009, I think. We started it, and we do a student summit too for diverse students, and every year we do that, and I think that's so important. And have you all heard about the Higginbotham Fellows Program? Yeah, it's a very important program, and we've had many members that have gone through that program have become arbitrators on our panel, which is great. I think about. About 100 people have become arbitrators from doing that program, which is great. Reg, your thoughts, the positive thoughts about the future.
I think the future is still bright. I mean, coming out of a mediation clinic myself, and I had one of the participants say that they were at Cardozo the year before Leela Love got there and established the program. But, that's how I got engaged and got started, is I was in a program. I was trained to be a mediator. I knew that that's what I wanted to do out of law school. And I think more of the schools are doing that. Certainly are the honor societies. You're seeing turn to dispute resolution not just be like a side team event for law schools. It's becoming an honor society at the law schools, like the moot court. You're seeing that the way that it's expanding in our society. The Jay-Z case might have been a negative at the time, but it really brought a lot of people who didn't even know that this was a thing into understanding that this is an area that you can join. And if you think there's a problem with diversity, you should join it. And I think the last thing is paying it forward. I mean, being a part of the National Bar Association, which has an ADR section, where folks are teaching the next generation how to get started, how to get engaged, and then offering shadowing opportunities. I will put it out there for young folks that I meet. If they are go-getters, as you all talked about in the last section, going after it, really seeking out that opportunity to shadow. I mean, it's been the most profound thing we can do, because once they see what it is, then they're like, okay, I actually want to do that. And then having programs at the AAA and JAMS to bring people into it after they've had some time after law school and have been in practice. I think that's probably the most profound change since I was in law school. It's just the proliferation of those opportunities. So I'm very optimistic, despite the climate.
Oh, that's great to hear. And Reg, I agree. The Jay-Z case was handled by my office, my team, and I think there's a lot, like I said earlier today or earlier tonight, there's a silver lining because we're talking about it, and the dialogue's out there, and all the ADR institutions bring up that case and say, well, they're maybe they got the facts wrong. A lot of people got the facts wrong on that case, but it's a positive thing because we're saying there's a need for diversity in this field. There really is. But I feel like the institutions have been ahead of it. JAMS, AAA, CPR, ICC. But that case is mentioned now, and it's a good thing because we're talking about it all the time. Simi, your thoughts, the positive thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely have seen a lot of improvement and positivity in this area for sure. I mean, there's still a long way to go, but I just even, I don't want to repeat what everybody else said, but I agree with what everybody else said. But also, even with CLEs and classes that there are available now, like language access, I just attended one, ASL, there's just more. And there's also even more language access, different languages. It's just, you see it in these other areas as well. So, there's definitely, more mentorship opportunities with the EDNY. There's an incubator program now. There's the Higginbotham program. There's lots of opportunities for mentorship as well. So I've definitely seen,
Now, I'm not sure if I asked you earlier. Does your bar association offer mentoring too, like a mentoring program?
The South Asian Bar does offer mentoring, and informal and formal. So there's a lot of events. There's panels. I mean, like this panel, for example. Like this is a great panel. I wish that actually that more people I knew could have attended this, because I should have spread the word about this. You're making me think about that now. But this is a great.
Well, we do it every year, and this is the 10th year, and every year we get over 100 people, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So, and you're seeing. I've been seeing more and more panels like this too, which is always helpful. So.
Yeah, Janelle, your thoughts.
I think a positive thing is we've seen a lot more mobilization in our community. I mentioned last year our president started a mentorship program And that's continued. We also do a lot of events for outreach. We do a lot of Know Your Rights clinics. And I think that that's something that I see continuing to increase. There's sort of like this spark that's been ignited with a lot of incoming members that aren't even law students yet, but have an interest in meeting people that can kind of guide them to the pathway or through the pathway to law. And so I think that over time, law in general will continue to diversify because people in hard times are typically inspired.
Yeah.
Certainly are in our bar association.
Well, I forgot to ask you, I think I asked one of you. I know the New York State Bar Association and also the ABA, they're having problems with membership. Are you guys seeing any problems with membership? I think Ramz, you said no. You said it's increasing or it's doing fine. But Vivian, what about membership? Is that okay or is it
Yeah,
dropping?
we're staying stable and growing. So I think I know Wabosnia as a state group has grown in membership, only because everybody starts moving around. Wabosnia is made up of chapters, so people from New York will move to Westchester and they'll just join the Westchester chapter. So as a Wabosnia as a state group, the membership has actually grown quite a bit, and the New York chapter remains stable and growing. So we haven't seen too much of a problem with membership itself, but we've had to change our outreach and we've had to provide programs that really apply, to the current times, apply to the incoming law students. We aim a lot at the law students themselves because they're the future. And so we have had to change the way that we actually try to get membership. So surprisingly, the Puerto Rican Bar Association's membership has grown somewhat also, I think because of the times. And wanting to sort of group with people that are going through something similar and networking and knowing you're not alone in the world when it comes to the legal field.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I would say the same applies to us. I think people look
Yeah.
more for community, which has worked out positively in terms of our membership.
Oh, awesome. Reg, how about you? How's the membership look there?
You always get to say we have 4,000 members, and then you ask us how many are active and how many are paying dues, and so we always have lots of members, and we have a really good pipeline with our young folks, whether even pre-law or the law students. We get them to join straight out.
Is it free for the law students?
Yeah, it's free for the students.
Like bar.
Hook them in, and then when when they get their jobs now, they're going to stay with it or they're going to stay connected. I think generally we have, and it's an interesting phenomenon, at least with our community. They're all a part of different bar associations, which have a much higher dues amount. And it's always a question for us, like our dues are pretty low, but people don't want to pay them. And I know
if you don't mind me asking, what are your dues?
They're 50 to 100. Right, so
that's not bad. That's really low. Yeah.
Pretty low. So the question is how much do you push people to pay dues when you want them to continue to come to events, and how do you incentivize that kind of work? And I think as the economy shifts for white collar jobs, I think the first thing people are going to do is not pay those dues. And so that is, I think, a phenomenon we're seeing. We'll see how far it plays out, but the membership is very strong.
Yeah, but I saw during the pandemic, a lot of the law firms started scaling back on. They saw that they didn't have to pay for all these trips and all these conferences, and then they realized they saved a lot of money. And now, post-pandemic, we're not seeing as many people going to these programs, or they're not funding them as much as they used to. Sami, your thoughts, on that, on the membership? Like, do you know how's the membership doing?
I don't know because I'm not on the leadership of the South Asian Bar, but I will say that the events are pretty packed. So it sounds to me like they're doing pretty well.
Awesome. Well, Simi, there's a question in the queue, and I'll ask you. You might not be able to answer it because it's the same. But what are the peculiar challenges faced by the South Asian Bar Association? Do you know of any challenges they're facing?
In terms of what? In terms
It,
of
it,
just the
it
climate
didn't
or?
mention it, it didn't say just any challenges.
I think like everyone else, I mean, I don't know if there's any particular, I can't speak to any particular challenges, but I think with everyone else, in this climate, being very intentional about, language used and, um, you know, making sure that, you're cognizant of, what's happening and, you can, the goals of these organizations are really to promote, more opportunities for all people. And, I think everybody has the same goals. So it's, just being aware of that and being cognizant when planning events and putting together
Sure.
papers and whatnot. So,
Rams, there's a question for you. Okay. Does the Muslim Bar Association offer free legal aid to needy parties?
So we provide referrals. And so yeah, we in terms of if there's a request that comes in for assistance, we pass it along to our members who work in that particular area.
Good. Vivian, how about you? I'll ask the same question to your bar association. Free legal aid to needy parties?
We
Or
don't
for
offer, there's, there was going to be a program that was something similar, and there's a whole lot of things that happen when you offer programs like that. We actually also do something very similar to what Ramz mentioned. We have people that we can refer cases to that will do it on pro bono.
yeah,
We have a strong pro bono. It's not a specific committee, it's not a specific group of people, but there's a referral line for pro bono work, and people step up and will do pro bono.
oh,
If they
nice.
have the specialty that goes with whatever request is being made.
Great. Reg?
Well, I brought up the challenges around money, but I will go to a real one. We just had a civil rights kind of symposium journey that was offered through the Metropolitan Black Bar Association from Montgomery to Selma. A powerful experience. Members came. It was a tight, small group of 12 of us. We're going to continue to do that each year. And what was difficult about it, I think is difficult for our members, is when you're working in an institution that is in part complicitly saying we don't have your back, which is certainly how it feels for the Black lawyers in some of these institutions. And look, we're all in big law. We're in all these different areas. We know what happened with the law firms recently when they capitulated to these demands. And people worked in those law firms. And unlike other folks, it wasn't an option for them to quit their jobs. It wasn't an option for them to just move to another firm. So I think that we're focused on mental health, how to support our folks, how to help them deal with this environment and this climate, because it feels like an attack on them individually and as a group, and how to support each other to remember that times have been much worse. And in those time periods, such as the civil rights movement, we had to bind together and work together and speak up where we could. And I think our organization has really done a good job. Our president, Nicole Arundel Lester, has done a great job of putting out our name as nonpartisan, but focus on the rule of law, focus on civil rights, the things that are inherent in our group, and standing firm on that to support our membership when they can't necessarily say that at work themselves.
Yep. Janelle, your thoughts on do you guys offer free legal aid?
We do not. Similarly to what Vivian mentioned, we do have a referral network internally, and we have a pretty good. Someone's always willing to step up, so it's worked out well.
Okay, so this question I'm going to ask you guys to close out. We have like 5 minutes. I want to ask each of you. It's not what we prepared for. This is an interesting question. My company launched on November 3rd an AI arbitrator for documents only. Okay, documents only, two parties. There's a human in the loop at the end. A human has to sign off on it. Want to know what your thoughts are. Just Rams, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts on an AI arbitrator?
I
Again,
mean,
a human in the loop has to sign the arbitration award.
at the end of the day, I mean, arbitration is a creature of contract, right? So if two parties choose that as their arbitrator, and with full knowledge of how this system works, then power to them, and as long as they're able to trust it, right? I think that's the number one thing. How do you build that trust with this AI arbitrator? And so I think, yeah, if it helps lower costs, if it's lowers time, if it reaches a a judgment that's, fair, in the eyes of both parties and neutral, then, I guess there is a market for it. Yeah.
Sure. Simi, you're an arbitrator, and I know you're going to think that's taking your job away. It's not, because there's a human still in the loop. But what are your thoughts on the AI arbitrator?
Um, I admittedly am not the expert on AI, and I do need to get more up to speed on it, to be honest. I use it obviously, somewhat like everybody else does, but I'm not one of these people who's been, researching the best way to use AI. I'm very old fashioned, so yeah, I'm sure there's room for some assistance with AI, but I don't think arbitrators can be replaced.
I think we're looking at access to justice. That's what AAA is looking at right now, and saying for
Yeah.
low dollar cases, high volume. Janelle, your thoughts on the AI arbitrator?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the purpose you just mentioned, I think it's great. I think AI is an amazing tool that people can use. I'm wary of like independent AI use, but I think that if there is someone overseeing it, then and it helps them be more efficient and it helps increase access to,
Access, yeah.
then it sounds great.
Vivian, and you're an arbitrator
Well,
too. We're not taking your job away.
I'm not so worried about that. I mean, yeah, do I use AI? I use AI. I am not a huge fan though of it doing certain things like, in cases that have some emotional background. I think AA is not going to be that great because it's not. And I think part of the research has been that AI has its own prejudices and it has its own bit of discrimination in there that can't be taken out because it goes by whoever is programming the AI. So I worry about that. A few years ago, I participated in an ADR discussion actually with the New York State Bar Association, who had this emerging, I forget what it was called, but it was on digital assets and it was on ADR using it in the digital asset world, which my firm does. And there were certain cases in which AI arbitrator, I think, would be fantastic.
Yeah, certain
Because
scenarios.
just complete, contract and no emotion, no nothing. But I think when you start stepping out of that, I get worried a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're going to be using it in various forms, not 100% to decide a case. I think that's where we're going to land. Reg, you got the final word on it.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a great idea as an app for counsel if you're trying to predict what's
To
gonna
analyze a
happen in your
case, yes.
upcoming, what's gonna happen in upcoming arbitration. Now, I think it would be really fascinating if you had like different avatars for your AI arbitrator. So you have like the more conservative, the more emotional, like let's go all the way so you can really do test cases before you get before the human arbitrator.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the point you made, when I go to law firms and talk about the AI arbitrator, they always bring up, well, we'd like it for case evaluation, case analysis, not necessarily deciding our case. So, guys, we're at the ending point, and I just want to say thank you. Guys are terrific, and what you do is wonderful. You guys are the best. Thank you for this great discussion today.